Hi guys. So this week and next week we're going to be looking at inequalities. We will have 2 weeks left of the semester when we come back, so we're going to do a project that you can put in your backpack when we come back. But we are going to be solving inequalities for the next 2 weeks. Anyway, so solving inequalities is very similar to solving equations. The difference is instead of an equal sign, we have an inequality symbol. So it's important that you know what those inequality symbols are. I suggest you write this down if you're not familiar with them. So first you have less than, okay? One way I always tell people that they can remember, it looks like one word, it's 2 words. Less than. Make less than with your left hand. So anyway, whatever. Less than with your left hand. If you put a line under it, it means that it is less than or equal to. So if you have something, if you're writing a mathematical statement using one of these, like you're saying that x is less than 5, you're saying that x could be any number that is smaller than 5, any number in the world. If you put the line under it, you're saying that x could be any number below 5, but it also could be 5. So that's the difference there. On the flip side, if you have something going the other way, it's greater than. One thing to think of is less than also kind of looks like a slanty L. Anyway, if you stick a line under greater than, it becomes greater than or equal to. So those are the inequality symbols. Hooray. As far as what we're going to be doing, so we're going to, because like when you solve an equation, there's one answer. But when you solve an inequality, there's an infinite number of answers, okay? So we're going to represent these on a number line. And the way to do that is, first, your starting point is going to be whatever number they give you, okay? So at -4. If there's no line under it, you leave that open because we're saying number 4 is not included in our solution set, okay? Because that statement is v is greater than -4. So if it's all the numbers bigger than 4, that's going to be all the numbers to the right. Okay. So everything to the right. Basically, that means any of those numbers except not including -4. If you have something like this, sorry, my starting point will be 0. But since I do have a line under it, 0 is included in my solution set. The answer could be 0, but it could also be all these numbers less than 0. So I'm going to draw a line and make an arrow being all those numbers forever, under any number that is less than 0 or 0. Okay, cool. If you look at it going the other way, you know, here we're writing an inequality. So I'm going to start just by picking x. It doesn't really matter what variable you pick, so I just use x. Since it's everything to the right, that's greater than. That means that all of my numbers are bigger than my starting point. So my starting point's at -2. So x could be any number that is bigger than -2, and since the dot is colored in, I'm going to say or equal to. Looking at this one, I've got x and my starting point is 0. Since it's going to the left on the number line, that's all the numbers that are less than 0. But since 0 is an open circle, it does not include x. It does not include 0, so no line under it. Okay, so we have solved equations before. Right now, just to get used to it, we're just sticking with one-step equations. So 5x minus 9 is greater than 5. then to solve that, just like I would, I add 9 to both sides. The only trick here is when you're doing this, don't lose your symbol or what direction it's going in, because that's important. So 9 plus 5 is 14. These cancel out. So x is greater than 14. So open circle because there's no line, and greater than is to the right. Cool. So with this one, I don't know if you guys remember, but a fraction bar simply means divide. So the opposite of dividing is going to be to multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 13. So on this side, they just cancel out. And on this side, it becomes 130. Now, this is tricky because technically this is written backwards from how we've been seeing them. We've always seen the variable on the left. But I know I put my dot at 130, and I know that the circle is open because there's no line under it. But 130 is greater than all the p's. Okay, so the 130 is the biggest number. Another way to think of it, if you think of the inequality as the mouth, the very hungry mouth or the alligator mouth, however people teach it in elementary or middle school or whatever, the mouth is eating whatever's bigger. So if p, my variable, my answers, the mouth is not eating p, so it's smaller than 130, so I go to the left. Okay. So dividing. Negative 360 is greater than or equal to 18b. So to get rid of 18, I'm going to divide both sides by 18. So I will get v is, v is less than, I'm saying it to a confusing way. Anyway, so I've got negative 20 with a line under it, so I'm going to close my circle. And then the mouth is eating the negative 20, so that means all of my answers are smaller. So I'm going to go to the left. Okay? Cool. Now, this one. Save this one for last because this is the one thing that trips people up with this. Usually they don't really have problems with the number lines. They don't really have problems with the solving because we've already solved equations. So the tricky part is there's this one rule that you always have to follow with inequalities, and that is when you multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, so if you'll notice right here, to get x by itself, I'm going to have to divide both sides by a negative 14. So I'm going to be dividing by a negative. When that happens, you have to flip the sign. And when I say the sign, I mean the inequality sign. Okay? So instead of being greater than, it's going to flip to a less than. That only happens when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative. Notice here, when I multiplied by a positive number, I didn't change the direction of the sign. When I divided by a positive number, I didn't change the direction of the sign. It didn't even matter that my answer was negative. But if I'm dividing by a negative number, the sign has to flip. Okay? So hopefully you remember that. Anyway, so these cancel and I bring down x, and this side becomes 3. So this time, my circle is open because there's no line under it. And since the mouse is eating the variable, all of my answers are bigger than 3, so to the right. Okay. So that's all we're starting with. Hopefully it's nothing too intimidating. I will hopefully see you guys at the live meet.